Can you keep up with the pace of market regulatory reform? MarketsReformWiki.com, the place to keep up.
Tell us about TradingScreen and your role with the company.
TradingScreen was the first EMS, execution management system, but now we do also order management and we do analytics and a bunch of other things. So we are one of the largest buy-side platform for buy-side clients to trade with the sell side, and I'm the CEO.
How has executive level experience in the futures industry influenced your work at TradingScreen?
Before I was working for big banks, so it's a different environment. But I learned a lot there in terms of setting up back office systems, setting up trading systems and so on. So I reuse that obviously a lot when I started TradingScreen. And the future specific experience happens to be right on target these days with obviously Dodd-Frank and all that, because the market is fundamentally moving to a futurization, as they say, of the market. Because the industry has been evolving very rapidly, almost every 2 years, every 5 years, depending on the subject, it has kept us always very much on the edge, trying to do new things. And the fact that I had the privilege of being part of the top guys of the industry obviously was great, because I know my peers can get a lot of information. We share at the top a lot, and we exchange ideas. And this has been integral to the success of the company, because the better information you get, the better product you produce.
Can you elaborate on the futurization of the industry?
Doing an interest rate swap was just giving a call to a bank, getting a price and saying it's done. Now it's not like that. You are going to have to manage margin, picking collateral, manage pay and receive every day, manage risk calculation, making sure that you control your risk on your counterpart. All of these things have changed fundamentally, and if you look at it, it's exactly the way the futures markets and the options market have worked for years. So people with that expertise will be very relevant, and a lot of the systems which have worked for this industry will be very relevant in the future.
In terms of regulatory risk and compliance, what are the major pain points for the buy side?
The market was fundamentally connecting a buyer and a seller, usually both being buy sides, and in the middle you had an intermediary bank. The intermediary bank, if you look historically over the last 50 years, had usually a better credit than the buy side. Today it can be at parity, it can be even lower than the buy side. So what was a very limited risk before can become, in an inverted credit environment, a larger risk. So it's a new requirement for the buy side to control their risk in a very adequate way, and they owe that to their investors.
What is the biggest area of focus for technology in the futures industry?
The area where you see a lot of activities right now are still the algo revolution, because you have a lot of products in the futures area and options area especially, which are fairly liquid, and you can have a very large market impact. So clients are trying to reduce that cost, which before was not well understood, but now because of the equity model has been translated and people understand it very well and want to avoid that. I think there is also, as I just mentioned, an incredible new area in terms of managing these new products, the new centrally cleared derivatives. They are going to be joined at the hip with the futures system historically. And so this is going to create a lot of new ideas and a lot of confrontation of views, which I think will generate better systems for the clients and for us.
What are your thoughts on the current regulatory environment?
Everywhere I go, I see fundamentally the same underlying basic ideas of what's good for the market, but I see everybody doing it a little bit differently. And that's very worrying. But I think for the industry it's a little bit disturbing. Especially when you see that some provision in some regulation, for instance Basel III, Dodd-Frank, and other regulation in various countries could be conflicting potentially. So I think the regulators have understood that, and I think they are trying to come back together and try to create a better, level playing field. But it's difficult, and I think that's maybe one thing that we need to pay a lot of attention in the next year or so.